Hi everyone, it's Nat here. Hope you're all doing well. I am on to satisfy a viewer's request today, and that is to do a video on how I use my Crop-A-Dile. So I am no expert with these and I probably do some things wrong. So I am just going to show you my understanding and interpretation of how to use the Crop-A-Dile. Now, if you don't have a Crop-A-Dile, there are numerous tools around that you can use to punch holes and set eyelets. Here are just a few of the ones that I have. So for hole punching, a lot of us have this type of thing. This punches 4 holes. I've got a few of these. I think one that does 2, one that does 3, and this one which does 4. And my cinch machine. And I've got a pile of these sorts of things as well to punch holes with. A lot of the time I think they're leatherworking tools, but it's the same sort of thing and we use the same things in them. So I have these as well, which apparently punch holes as well as set eyelets, and these are scary. They're spring-loaded. You do not want to get your skin stuck in there. And they are very loud and they bang a lot. So, but they work, and some people really love these. And as I said, they do both for you, and there's 3 different sizes in that lot. And then recently I got this set, which also sets the eyelets, and it has a little mat that you can do it on and that as well. Yes, if you don't have a Crop-A-Dile, keep an eye out for this sort of thing. I tend to find a lot of these and these in the secondhand shop, as well as a whole lot of eyelets and little setters that you'd use with a hammer as well. So there's a number of manipulatable pieces on your Crop-A-Dile, and there are also a lot of symbols and words and that, which I haven't really taken much notice of before, but we will go through them today and we can both learn. So the first one here is this little button, and it's got a picture of a lock on it. And what you can do is if you press your handles together, you can push that in, and that locks your handles together for storage. Or sort of locks them together either. They're not together a lot, are they? And then over the other side, you've got the unlock one. So you would just close your handles together and press that, and that will unlock them ready for use. I never use it though, so there we go. Yeah, see, it doesn't seem to work on mine very well. But I don't tend to use it. I like to store it so it's ready to go. Next, we have the hole punches, which are here on the top and here on the bottom as well. And there's 2 different sizes, so you can punch 2 different size holes, and you can set 2 different sized eyelets in those holes. So you will notice on these there are measurements as well, and we've got centimetres on one side, and then we've got inches on the other side, which is very handy. So that's so you can measure and set how far in you want to punch a hole into the paper. So what you can do is just move this little lever somehow. I haven't done this. There we go. You just push it along with this to the measurement, and that will set the hole as far into the paper as you want it. So your paper will only go so far in here. So you've got that on both of the hole punch pieces. Now it also does show on the black piece here what size hole that punches. So that's 1/8 of an inch. And this one is, it says here, 3/16 of an inch. And that is the diameter of the hole there. So if you measure acrosswise in the thickest part, that is the width of it. Next thing are these little blocks here, which you can turn around. Now it says on this part here, you can read, it says base. I've never looked at any of this before. I had a good look at it last night. But that says base, which makes this the top. And it's got an arrow pointing down at the top. So when you do anything, this is where you put the bottom part, and this is how you hold it for the top, which is helpful as well. Now, another thing which you probably can't read very well, on your blocks there are, on this top one, there are letters, the letters A to D. And on the bottom one are numbers 1 to 4. So that helps you figure out which one you need for what application you're doing. Now, I have found a instruction manual. It's got very basic instructions, but the important thing on it is the cube chart, and it actually goes through the letter and the number you need for the sizes of eyelets and washers and that sort of thing that you will need to turn these to use them. So that is really handy. So what I'll do is link that below this video so you can have a look at it and save it onto your computer as well. Now, the numbers on here and the letters are impossible to read. I had to get my magnifying glass to be able to read them and know what they said, so, which is pretty sad. I have seen a person before use like a gold metallic pen or something to try and highlight them so they stand out. So first we will have a look at some of the eyelets and that sort of thing that I've got here. We'll start with the basic ones. So you can see with these two that this one is a lot smaller than that one. But if you look at them, the holes are the same size. So they are the 3/16 of an inch in size. Now, if you have a look at this tiny little one, which I'll try and get in my hand next to that one, you'll see the holes are a lot smaller, so that's 1/8 of an inch there. So the tops can be different sizes, but the measurement is for the size of the hole. So this one's huge, but the hole is absolutely tiny, and that's 1/8 of an inch. Now we'll grab our 3/16 eyelet, which is this one here, and we will punch a hole. So I've got some chipboard here that I think I'll use to do that with, because I haven't got any tags ready to go or anything like that. Let's chop that down a bit. So what we want to do is find our 3/16 one. Well, basically I just look at the size of the hole there to know which one's bigger and which one's smaller. So that's the biggest one. Sometimes I'll grab my eyelet and just put it in. And if it won't go in, you know it's not going to fit it. And if it does go in, you know it's going to fit it. So that's another way of checking. So sometimes I might measure where I want to punch my hole. And I might put a dot there. I'll put it there because there's already a sort of dot there. Now you can also then measure along your little ruler here and set this if you're going to do a few down here at the same measurement inwards. But for today, we will just do it like this. I usually just measure my dots like that. And then because you've got the hole up here, you can actually see through that to see where your dot is. And you can punch that. So that's how I usually do it, especially if I'm just doing the one. If I was doing a set all the way down, I should probably set this at the same measurement just to make sure. So there we've got our hole. Then we can put our eyelet into the hole, and then we make sure that we've got the right settings with our two things here. So it says on the chart that I'm reading, for the top we want A. So that is the base there. So the top we want A, and it is set on something flat at the moment, so that's not going to work. Can't really read the things. That's B. That is A. So that's A there, and you can see the A just up in this top corner there, the top left corner. So I know I want that facing down. So you can just pull your cube down, and it'll make that cracking sort of noise like that, and then you can turn it. So you turn it to the one you want, and then you just push it back up again like that. And then for the base, we want the 3/16 of an inch base, which is number 1. So I can see a number 1 down here. So this is the base we want. So you can sort of see with your little bottom of your stem there that would fit onto the base piece like that. And as you squeeze, that would splay the metal pieces there to the sides. Now, I see a constant argument online about whether the base should split when you press it. My belief is that most do and should. And if you look at these ones, which are actual ones that are made for the Crop-A-Dile, they have these little ridges in them. And I think that they're specifically there to help it split evenly. There are probably some that shouldn't split, maybe when you're doing leather working and that, but yeah, I think it's a bit of an engineering feat to be able to push that down and have it still stay together. So anyway, they're my thoughts on that. So don't worry if it splits. You just want it to sort of look neat when it splits, which some of mine do and some of them don't, and I'll show you what I mean after. So we've clipped that one down where we want it, and now it's ready to go. So base at the base, of course, and the top at the top. So that's the top of our eyelet, so that goes in with the top. And you just want to make sure when you slip it in that the base piece is going up in the hole there, which it pretty well does. If you get the top in right, it does naturally sort of go where you want it to. And then you just give it a squeeze. And you can see there how it's sort of split quite evenly. And that's why these ones have the little ridges to start it off. And it helps it split nice and even like that. And then there's the top in nicely. And these ones go nice and flat, which is good. On occasion, well, you'll see me most of the time when I put an eyelet in, I'll grab my Crop-A-Dile and I'll bang around like this, which I don't think you're meant to do with the thing. But I do it gently, and that's just so that these go a little bit flatter and it's not so... Sometimes when you rub your fingers over, it's a little bit stick up and it's a little bit sharp in that. So I do that and it just makes it a bit smoother and lessens the bulk for my journals. But it works really well on these ones because they're quite pliable, where others aren't so pliable, so it doesn't work as well. So that's how you put one of those in. Next we'll do the 1/8 of an inch eyelet. So of course we're looking for the smaller hole, and it does say 1/8 of an inch down here on the black. So, and you can see it fits in there nicely as well. This one would probably fall through, I think. So again, you can go in and punch a hole. Put your little eyelet in ready to press. So for this one, the cube chart says that the top needs to be letter C. So we go top. And this small one says C, but you sort of know because the big one's bigger, obviously, and this one's a bit smaller. So really you learn that and you won't need the chart for those. They're quite simple. But you do have this indented piece here and then a flat piece there, which are for other applications, which we'll look into afterwards as well. And they're ones I'm not so familiar with. And it's the same with the bases. You've got the ones that are sort of like mountains and they get wider. They start narrow up the top and then widen. And they're on opposite sides. And they're to put eyelets in that I'm showing you now. But then on the other two sides, we've got ones that are like the same size at the base as they are at the top, which are again for other applications that we'll go through. But for our 1/8 of an inch, we're doing C. So we've got the letter C down there. So make sure that's facing down. And then we want number 3, it says. So we'll just double check, and that says number 3 on the cube. So make sure that's facing up. Press it down. So again, we want where it's got the arrow pointing downwards is the top. So we'll make sure that's at the top, and the little base bit is at the bottom. Press it down, and you can see that it's where we want it. Give it a squeeze. And again, you can see that it's sort of flayed out there at the base and split, so it sits flat. So they're the most regular applications that we use for our junk journal making and putting in our tags, and that are the 2 different sizes of your eyelets. So let's have a look at some of the other bits and pieces. So we've got flat embellishments here. Now, this is what I suppose is considered a flat embellishment. I also have some other little ones, I think, in here that I just recently got. So let's drag one of them out. A nice purple one there. So you can see it's sort of flat on the top, but then it has the little eyelet part on the bottom, the stem. And you can sort of see that that's the 1/8 because it's little. Now the cube chart has some settings for a flat embellishment, and then it has a setting for a round embellishment. So that's where these top pieces come in, the one that's got the bit of a dip there, and then the one that's completely flat. So I think that means if it's a rounded top, that you'd use the sort of dipped one there. And if it's a completely flat top on it, that you'd use the flat part. So I have these little ones, and they are a little rounded. So maybe we'll try that as a rounded embellishment. It's very hard to tell what they mean by flat and rounded, but we'll give that a go. So for the rounded ones, you would use D for the top, and this is D. So I will pull it down, turn it, press it back up. And then for the bottom, it would depend on the base size. So we know that that's tiny, so that's the 1/8. So we'd use the same setting that we used for our 1/8 eyelet, which we already have it on. The little one there. So we'll leave that as is. So we will punch our 1/8 hole for that. We'll put our little embellishment in there, if I can. Yeah, it looks like a rounded top, doesn't it, really? And then, now these are a bit harder because you don't have the little stick sticking down that you stick in the middle. So you really want to make sure that you get the base part up into where the hole is. So I'll just hold it like that, and then I will check, and I can see looking underneath that it looks like it's pretty well in the right place. So now I'll give it a little squeeze. Now, I don't know if I squeezed that enough, so what you can do is just go back in, of course, if you need to adjust. And what I'll do is make sure that the hole's on the little base bit, and I'm going to give it a bit harder squeeze. Yeah, that's a bit better. So now you can see I've got my little flattish embellishment in there. So you would repeat that process for this one. Now this one's quite wide on the top there. So I wouldn't use the rounded top part. I'd use the flat one, which would be this one. Which I won't do because I don't want to use this on that because I quite like it. So I don't think I have very many of these. So, but yes, I would use the flat top piece, and then I'd use the same 1/8 inch base because it's just a little circle there. And you can measure this with your ruler if you want to be sure that you've got the right one. Now, some of the eyelets that I've been using are specifically our memory keeper ones, so they work really, really well. But most of the eyelets I get are not, and a lot of them even come from the second-hand shops and that. Some of them have different length stems, and that can make a big difference when it comes to how well they work. Now, I did come across these, and I've got piles of them, but the stem is just a little bit longer, and they don't seem to squash down as well. It's going to make a liar out of me now. Also, I think they're a slightly bigger than the 1/8, but they're smaller than the 3/16. Yeah. So they're an in-between size, and that's probably why I find I have a bit of trouble with them, with my Crop-A-Dile. I do have other setters here, which might work because they've got different sizes, but I do use these with my Crop-A-Dile. Now I'm just going to set it for the smaller hole, and I'm going to punch the smaller hole. I will put my eyelet in. Now, I do find when I do the hole that it's hard to get in because it's that little bit bigger, but it does go in. Now we will go to squash it. Oh, that one worked quite well. I knew it was going to make a liar of me. I think what it is my chipboard's quite thick. When I use those on the paper, it doesn't work very well because the paper's not really thick enough. So if things go right, it's not necessarily you. Sometimes it's the different style of eyelets that you have or the thickness of your paper and everything. So don't stress about that. But you can see nearly all of these have split. And I do think that is very normal. So don't think that you're going to get them all flat and round. They will split, and they're meant to. So, okay. So next, I think what we will do is try doing some eyelets and washes. Now, I haven't done eyelets and washes before, so hopefully I've got some that will work here. I do find a lot of this sort of thing in the second-hand shops and craft hauls that I've got from other places. Now, these look like eyelets and washes. They're huge, though. So I don't know if they work because they're not the right size, but we can always give it a go and see what happens. I don't think you're meant to, but I'll try anything once. So it's recommended you use the right size, obviously, or you may damage your Crop-A-Dile. So let's see how we go. So that would be the eyelet. And that looks like a washer. Are there different pieces for these, or are they all the same? Yeah, they're all the same. Don't confuse me. For the 3/16 eyelet and washer, it's A for the top, so it's the same top as what you'd do your big eyelet with, because of course it's the same sort of thing. But the washer is the difference. So to help put the washer in, the base would be number 2, it says, which is this one. So they're the ones that are the same down the bottom as they are up the top. So we'll punch a hole. Getting ahead of myself here. So we're doing the big hole. Let's see if we can fit this eyelet even in there. We'll have to force this in because it's a bit bigger than the actual hole. And then we'll put our eyelet on the base. Hoping I've got it the right way around. All right, so let's give this a squeeze and see what happens. Oh yeah, it sort of worked. It's definitely not the right size because that was difficult. But you can see that's down, and squashes the base bit of the stem over the washer and holds the washer in place. So you'd use this mainly for like leather working and that sort of thing, so it would hold it in there nice and secure. So that's what your other settings are for on your blocks. And then of course you would do your smaller eyelets and washers with the same top part for the small eyelets, but the smaller base part for the washer. Okay, so I couldn't think of the right words to use for the shapes on these, but the base bit that you use for your eyelets, that one there, is a cone shape. But the ones that you'd use for your eyelets with your washers is a cylinder shape, so it's sort of flat on top and the same width at the top and the bottom. So I thought I'd better just clarify that. No good with my geometric shape names. So I think that is it. I hope I didn't confuse anyone anymore, but that is how you apply both the sized eyelets, so your 3/16 and your 1/8 of an inch eyelets. Also your flat or circular topped embellishments, as well as your eyelets and your washers. And as I said, this one isn't the right size, so it's a little bit more difficult, but I still wanted to show you so I could share what the other pieces on your cube are for, just in case you have some of these that are the right size. But as I said, I have a number of different tools for setting these things, and so I should be able to use those on my eyelets and washers. A lot of these sets came with them. So you can see here in this bag, there's this, which I think is the little base bit, and then this. And I think you use a hammer and use that to put it together. I think you do it that way. So I have to look all of this up and try it out. So I should have everything I need to be able to do it with what I've got. So it is worth looking around in the second-hand shops for this sort of thing, in case you get eyelets that aren't the right size to go in here, because as I said, it does only do the 2 sizes. This silent setter that I've got, I just got this recently, this does 3 sizes, so that'll be great. But yes, the Crop-A-Dile is very easy to use. I find it quite good, and I've also invested in the Big Bite now as well, which does the same, the 3/16 and the 1/8. This is good if you want to get eyelets further in on your page than what you would with this, because of course with this you can only go so far on your page, whereas this you can go a great distance on your page if you want to. So if you want to do a corset in the middle of your page or something like that, you can with this. All right, now I hope that was some help to someone and that I didn't confuse you even more. Do take care of yourselves, and I will see you again soon. Bye.